Hello everyone and welcome to our next pre-recorded lesson for GL Assessment Year 5 Block 6. We're going to be working through Week 5 content and this is going to cover off Lesson 9 of Verbal Reasoning. Looking forward to going down through this video with you. Let's just bring up the slides just so you can see again what we're going to be covering off. So if you are in Year 5 studying GL Assessment for the GL Assessment 11 Plus, and this is Block 6, Week 5, Lesson 9, and the content will cover off Verbal Reasoning. I'm going to put Billy in the bottom corner just so it's easier for you to focus. We're actually going to commence the lesson with a spelling test. So I can ask you to get your spelling books out ready. I'll ask you to write the numbers 1 to 12 down the side. If you don't have a spelling book, then a scrap bit of paper or even a jotter book will suffice. I'm going to read out the words to you twice and would ask you please to write those words down. The other thing just to remember when you are writing these words down, they all have a common suffix this week. So we are looking at the endings of the words and we're going to start off with a series of jobs. So hopefully you're ready. If you would like to pause the video at this stage because you just need to get yourself organised, ready to start the spelling test, then of course do. Otherwise, if you are ready, then we will start. Number 1, dietitian. Dietitian. Write the word dietitian. Number 2, electrician. Electrician. Question 3, physician. Physician. Number 4, I'd like you to write the word politician. Politician. Number 5, discussion. Discussion. Number 6, oppression. Oppression. Write the word oppression. Number 7, I'd like you to write the word percussion. Percussion. Number 8 is profession. Profession. Write the word profession. Number 9, constitution. Write the word constitution. Number 10, contribution. Contribution. Number 10, contribution. Number 11, distribution. Distribution. And number 12 is institution. Institution. That's number 12. So, as I said to you at the beginning, all of these words had common suffixes. I'm going to read those words down through just in case you missed any, and then we'll have a look and see how many of them you actually got right. Number 1, dietitian. Number 2, electrician. Number 3, physician. Number 4, politician. Number 5, discussion. Number 6, oppression. Number 7, percussion. Number 8, profession. Number 9, constitution. Number 10, contribution. Number 11, distribution. And number 12, institution. So hopefully you found those words okay this week. Hope you were also able to learn the definitions of those words as well. Let's have a look down through, see if we can reveal to you what those words are. So there we are. So if we just go down through, dietitian, electrician, physician, politician, discussion, oppression, percussion, profession, constitution, contribution, distribution and institution. So really important that you do learn common suffixes. Last week, of course, we were looking at prefixes, but common suffixes are also something that are worth learning. Well done if you got a lot of those right. And you can put your mark out of 12 underneath. Any words you didn't know, do put them in your word and meaning book as well. Right, let's move on to the main part of the lesson. We are going to now look at some verbal reasoning. We are going to start actually by talking about one common question type, which is called middle number. And we're going to just talk about how to approach that question. And then we're actually going to go in to do 3 tests today. We've got Section 2, Test 5 in your Schofield and Sims Rapid Reasoning book. And also we're going to be looking at Section 2, Test 6 and Section 2, Test 7. So, can I just read out to you about missing number for verbal reasoning questions? I'm just going to read you out some techniques around this particular question type. This number-related verbal reasoning question type requires a strong knowledge of all 4 operations. And of course, by the 4 operations, we mean subtraction, addition, division, and multiplication. If the number in the middle is lower than the numbers on the outside of the brackets, and you'll see how they're laid out in a minute, then division or subtraction must be required. So just to repeat that, if the number in the middle is lower, then we're going to need to use division or subtraction in some way. If the number is larger, multiplication and addition is needed. Look out, though, for squared numbers. So this is an example of what these questions look like. So as you can see, we've got 2 numbers on the outside and we need to make the number in the middle. Now this is actually, it is related to square numbers, and of course what we do is we times the 2 numbers on the outside to make the middle number. Now this can sometimes be represented algebraically. So if I was to make that A, make that B, let's call the middle number C, what would it look like as an algebra sum? Well, of course it would be A multiplied by B to give me C. So you may see us discuss, certainly within the lesson, talk about it algebraically in terms of how to work it out. And you may also see the use of brackets as well to show which part you do first. So if we go to our third one, after we've worked out that 8 times 8 is 64, 7 times 7 is 49, 9 times 9, so we're working out the middle number, and as it does say down the bottom, of course, it's 81. So very good knowledge of times tables are required here, but also the other operations, and also double checking that the rule applies to both pairs before you apply it to your third pair. So, like you please to ensure that you have page 20 in your Schofield and Sims Rapid Reasoning Test Verbal Reasoning book. Now, as you know, up here it does say 10 minutes. We have very much whittled that down, and we are saying that we're giving you 10 minutes to work this out. So if you now want to pause the video, find the right page in your book, which is page 20, and it should say Section 2, Test 5, and then you're going to time yourself for 8 minutes. So this might be the opportunity now just to pause your video and time yourself for 8 minutes, and then we're going to go down through those answers. Okay, let's see how you fared with this particular test. So, first ones, and we've just obviously been discussing them, are the middle number questions. Now, I'm just going to talk to you about how we arrive at the answer. So, what we've got on number 1, fairly straightforward. If we've got A and we've got B, we're just going to add those together. So, to make C. So, we're just going to add A and B, and we're going to get the number in the middle. So, 135 plus 20 gives me 155. Now, as we go down through these, we would ask you, of course, to mark them, give them a tick if you've got them right. If you've got any wrong, then please do listen to the description about how we do arrive at the answer. So, question 2, we've got A plus B, so we're adding the sides together again. But this time, we're also going to be adding 5 each time. So again, it's 2 operations. So again, if I was to show you that algebraically, A plus B, and then we're also, though, going to be adding 5 on. So it's very important that we do add the 5, of course. So if we look at our question, on the third one, we've got 40, add 23, get 63, but we're going to need to add 5 to get 68. So well done if you got 68 on that one. That one again was a little bit more tricky, and it just involved addition each time, but just 2 times. Question 3, how are we going to arrive at the answer here? So we've got A minus B plus 10. So we're going to take the numbers away from each other, and then we're going to add 10. So we've got 66, take away 24. It's going to obviously give us 42. Add 10 to give me 52. Worth checking that it works over here. So 23, take away 5 gives me 18. Add 10 gets me back to 28. So if we think about what we're going to do here, 6 and 6. So again, take those away from each other, get nothing. And then we're going to add 10. So 10 is the answer. Question 4, how do we arrive at the answer here? Well, again, this is a double operation one, a little bit more complex, this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub out my jottings on this one and just show it to you up here, just because there's a little bit more space. So we're going to do A, and we're going to take away B. A look a little bit more like an A take away B, and then we're going to divide it by 2. Okay, so I'm going to put that in brackets because that's the bit I'm going to do first. So let's see if it works. 26 and 6. So if we take them away, we get 20, and then we know the relationship between 20 and 10 is we're going to halve it. So 32 take away 4 is 28. Half 28 gets me 14. Let's try that over here. This is our pair. 14 take away 4 is 10. Half 10 is 5. Question 5, again a double operation. This time we're going to do A minus B. So again, if you think about the algebra, divided by 4. So this bit comes first. So again, labelling that as A and that as B. So we've got 100 divided by, take away 20 rather to give me 80. Divided by 4 gives me 20. So let's check that it works over here. So we've got 400 take away 40. That gives you 360. Now 360 divided by 4. Now you could do this as you probably know your times tables, but 4's into 36 or 360. That's going to give me 90. So well done if you got 40, because what you're going to do is 200 take away 40, because it's going to be 160, divided by 4 is going to give me 40. So well done if you got that right. So the more complex ones do involve a double operation, but well done if you managed to get all of those correct this week. Let's have a look down through the next set of questions. And what have we got to do? Well, let's read the little synopsis at the top here, or the little rubric. Rearrange the word in capitals to make another word that goes with the first 2. Write it on the line. So these ones are good fun. We've got 2 words on the left. So the word that we're going to make has to be related to those and has to go with those. But we're then given an anagram. So sometimes, if it does make it easier, it can be quite a good idea to sort of write it out maybe in a circle. A bit more difficult just with 3 letters. But you can see there, writing them in a slightly different order, you might spot what the word is if you can't get it from the clue there. So if we reorder gel, we get leg. So leg is the answer. Number 6, so we've got beard, if we were to reorder bard there. So again, looking down at the answers, you can see what you've got to do. Look at the words on the left. So you've got God and saint here. So angel would be the word that we'd make from angle. Cry, wail, and of course we can make tears then if we reorder taser there. Then we've got butcher and tailor and break. So if we reorder break, then a baker would go with those 2. And then jumped and bounced, and if we reorganise letters in petal, we can make leapt. So quite tricky, but it's kind of 2 things that could help you get to the answer. If you really can't work out the word from the 2 words on the left, then you've just got to reorganise those letters and see if you can make a word. But I think certainly those words will give you a big clue and a hint. Right, let's move down to the next questions. Now, the next set of questions that we've got are muddled up sentences, but let's just read the bit at the top. The words in the sentence below have been muddled up, and an extra, an unnecessary word or superfluous word has been added to each. Unjumble the sentences, then remove the extra word so that the sentences make sense. Cross out the extra word. So sounds easy, sounds fairly complex, but it's actually easier than what it sounds. Basically, when you do these, if you read through the sentence as it's written, that will give you a clue to what the sentence should say. And then we're going to cross through the words that we've used, but there will be a word that we can't fit in there. So, your, how, children, many, are, you, there, in class. Now, we always read it like that, and then we have to think about, well, what would make sense? Now, it is a question, so I think that's a big clue. So we're actually going to start with the word how. So, how many what? How many children are there in your class? So the word we couldn't fit into the sentence was you. So what you can see here is we've highlighted the word that we couldn't use within the sentence, and that's actually your answers. So we've got in, yesterday, below, and is. But let's just share with you what the sentences should have been. So the first sentence should have been wolves are, what are they? They are wild animals that hunt in packs. But the other in we couldn't fit in the sentence. Now, often sentences will start with pronouns, so it's useful to look out for pronouns because they can begin the sentence. And every sentence, of course, will need a verb, otherwise it's not a sentence. So, what's this sentence going to say? I school went London week on a to zoo trip yesterday. So it's talking about possibly going on a school trip to London Zoo. But let's see. I is the pronoun, so let's start with I, shall we? Doesn't always work, but I went, where did you go to? I went to London Zoo on a school trip. When? Now you wouldn't say yesterday, last week. So yesterday is not required. Question 13. We've got so the word we didn't need, we've identified that, but let's go through what the sentence says. The swooped eagle, it suddenly down below perch from. So what would make sense here? The eagle swooped down suddenly from its perch. So below is the word that's not required. Question 14. Different many there of bird is types are. So what would make sense here? There are many different types of bird. So is was not required. So well done if you managed to get all of those sort of reshuffled sentences correct. You managed to unjumble the sentences, but you found the word that wasn't required. Right, 2 more questions within this test to look at, and these are our fairly lengthy word problems. So we're going to see if we can work out these. So let's have a look at the first one. So guys, always a case of reading all the information and then seeing how we're going to work it out. 7 horses are taking part in a race. Zuma is in last place. Carrot is 3 places ahead of Zuma. Biscuit is 2 places ahead of Carrot. Pixie is in first place and Thunderbolt is 2 places behind her. Dash is 3 places behind Biscuit. In what place must Rosie be? Now, interestingly, Rosie is not mentioned within the word problem at all. So what we've got to try and do here is we've got to try and reorder all of these horses, and we've got to work out where Rosie would be positioned. And the way we'll work that out is we'll know which one hasn't been filled in. So the way we would do this is to actually get ourselves 7 different lines here. This is how I would approach it. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in based on the information. So I'm only going to use their initial just because I haven't got time to be writing their whole names out. So we're going to start with Zuma because Zuma is in last place. So Zuma is going to go there. So I'm going to rule out Zuma. And then we're going to work through the rest of it. So Carrot is 3 places ahead of Zuma. So 1, 2, 3. So we're going to need to write Carrot there. So again, I'm going to rule out Carrot. I've already dealt with Carrot. Biscuit is 2 places ahead of Carrot. So 1, 2. So I'm going to place Biscuit here. So again, I'm going to rule out all that information. Pixie is in first place, so that makes it easy. So Pixie goes up there. So again, as I go through, it's just easier to rule out the information. And Thunderbolt is 2 places behind her. So just behind Biscuit there, that's where Thunderbolt needs to go. Good name for a horse, isn't it? Thunderbolt. Let's cross that out. Dash is 3 places behind Biscuit. So that's where Dash is going to go, in there. 1, 2, 3 places behind Biscuit. In what place must Rosie be? Now, I wouldn't necessarily need to number them all, but just to show you, if I was to number them all, there we've got 5, and then this is obviously the place that's left over. So Rosie is going to go in there. So the answer was 6th place. Let's move on to the next one. So we've got Dinah's cake recipe has 5 steps. The recipe says whisk the eggs before weighing the flour. It says mix the sugar and butter together after measuring out the milk before whisking the eggs. The recipe says turn on the oven after the 2 steps are completed. What is the 4th step of the recipe? Now, again, we would need to do a little sketch here. So I'm going to get rid of my previous jottings for the last question that we did. And what we're going to do here, we've got 5 steps. So again, I'm going to number these, a bit similar to what I did last time, in case of creating a little table for myself. So let's look at the first thing that we've got here. So we've got to... the recipe says whisk the eggs before weighing the flour. Now, in order to help me, because I don't want to be writing out all this information, I'm going to say whisk the eggs is going to be WTE. Okay, so again, I can just leave that there for the moment. And then weighing the flour, WTF. So again, I've got my sort of little initials that I'm going to use here. Then we've got... if we look at the next part, it says mix the sugar and butter together. So I'm just going to put M and then I'm going to put SB. So mix sugar and butter. And then we've got measuring the milk. So we're going to put MTM. Okay. And then we've also got to add in the oven as well. So I'm just going to put O there. So I've got my 5 different things. And now it's all about trying to put them in their order. So it does say on the second bit, it says that mix the sugar and butter together after measuring out the milk, but before whisking the eggs. So again, if we were to put these in order, so we've got to mix the sugar and butter, but after mixing the milk. So mixing the milk, I'm going to put up here. Then we've got to mix the sugar and butter. And quite importantly, it does talk about the recipe says turn on the oven after the first 2 steps. The oven needs to be there. Then we've got to whisk the eggs. And then after that, we're going to weigh the flour. So I hope that makes sense. I think, again, it is quite important to just put the initials down, otherwise you're going to get yourself in a bit of a muddle. And then I would certainly cross out the information once you've dealt with it, just to ensure that you've covered all the different steps. And what does the question ask? Well, what is the 4th step of the recipe? Well, it's whisk the eggs. And remember, we put it as a little abbreviation with WTE. So, well done on that question. That was certainly my approach. I hope you did it in a similar way. Right, moving on to the next test. Now, if you can find this in your Schofield and Sims book, this is section 2, test 6, and it's in your Schofield and Sims book again on page 21. Now, same as we did last time, again, we would be trying to get you to try and finish these tests within 8 minutes. We're sort of shaving 2 minutes off and seeing if you're able to complete all the questions in the time. So let's go down through and see how you fared with these. So the first question type is to change the first word into the last word. Only change one letter at a time, making 2 new 4-letter words in the middle. Write the new words, and these are always really good fun. So we've got trap, and then we make it into tram. So again, you can see what letter from the end that you end up with at the end. So again, that allows us then to change the P to an M. So we're only changing one letter each time. Tram. Now, how did we know that it was going to become pram? Well, we can see we've got a P here. So we can take the R, the A and the M over, and then we can make sure we've got the P. So it's all about looking at the first word and then looking at the last word to see what letter has also lasted all the way through for the middle 2. So dome becomes home, hope and hops. And then we've got lead or lead, dead in the middle there. Mast and cast. Hang and hand. Wash and mash are the 2 words we need in the middle there. So, well done if you got those right. And we're now going to have a look at some compound words. Underline the 2 words, 1 from each group. That together make 1 new word. The word from the first group does come first. So we've got grandparent, pickaxe, heartfelt, birdsong, and foghorn. It is worth creating a nice list of compound words, just unusual ones. You may not have heard of heartfelt before, so if something is heartfelt, then it's really meant. But certainly creating a nice list of compound words, particularly unusual ones, even small ones. If I was to give you some here, look, so mean, for example, or so and me, always would create a nice little list of compound words, even little unusual ones that you may not have realised were compound words as well. Things like seething, you had see and thing together. So do make a nice list of compound words. If the letters in each word were listed in reverse alphabetical order, which letter would come 5th? Write the answer on the line. And this one has been done for us. So if we were to imagine, now we're doing it in reverse alphabetical order. So we're obviously going back towards A. Now my suggestion with these would probably certainly be write out the alphabet to help you. So there is some space here where you could just quickly write the alphabet out. I think that would certainly help. We would certainly expect you to know your alphabet well, but knowing it in reverse as well is slightly more tricky, but it might be a little skill you might try and learn for the 11 plus, is know your alphabet backwards as well as forwards. So once you do put them in reverse order, these are the answers. You get O for number 11, terrifying is N, empowering, N is the 5th letter, and then L is the one you get if you reorder complicated. So hope you did well with those. Let's move on to the 2 word problems at the end. Jamie is 20 and his brother is 18. Jamie's mother is twice Jamie's age now. So we know that she is now 40, okay, because Jamie is 20. So we're just going to double 20. How old will Jamie's mother be when Jamie's brother is 20? Well, Jamie's brother is currently 18. So he will, in 2 years' time, he'll be 20. So we just need to add 2 to 40. And of course, Jamie's mother will be 42 when Jamie's brother is 20. Question 16, the last one in this test. I fed my cat Sally with 3 tins of food a day. My brother feeds his cat Graham 2.5 tins of food a day. How many tins of food will Sally and Graham eat between them in 8 days? So a quick little bit of times tables. We're going to do 8 threes first for Sally's cat. So that's 24. Now we're going to do also 8 times 2.5. Now it might be worth doing the 8 times 2 first, which obviously gives me 16. Now what are 8 halves? Well, that of course is 4. So I've got all the numbers I need to add up now. So we're going to work out the number of tins. So that's going to give me 14. And then in this column, in my tens column, I've got 40. So 44 is the answer. It's worth also being able to multiply fractions as well, particularly thirds, halves, quarters. Worth learning some of those. Let's move on now to the last test that we're going to look at today. And we're going to look at page 22. And this is section 2, test 7 in your Schofield and Sims book. And as we've said for 2 of the previous tests, 8 minutes is what we would suggest. So if you want to pause the video at this stage, you can. Pause it for 8 minutes. And that will give you a chance then to work down through this test. Okay, hopefully you've been able to complete it. And let's have a look down through now and look at the answers. So I'm just going to bring this up. Now, first thing that we're going to do, and we always like these, we're looking for the hidden 4-letter word that is hidden between 2 words. So first one is, we've got an example here, which was tense, of course, between Eton and today. Do remember, we have talked about this before, 2-1, 3-1, 1 and 3, or even 2 and 2 letters. So just think about the combinations that you can have. So the first one is pins. This one, though, and I need to add to my combinations here, of course, you can have 1, 2, 1. So that actually goes across 3 words there. Shin, going across a fresh and in. Sewn, going between his and own. Face, going across 3 again, but 1, 1, 2. So 1, 1, 2 letters. Another combination there. Face, and then band, where's that one gone? Between rub and. So again, well done if you got that one right. These ones are always good fun. What we're doing is taking 1 letter from the first word and we're adding it into the second. Okay, so what have we got on this one? We're going to be taking, so if I record down here which letter you're taking out, that might be an easier way of you marking, but you were asked to actually write down both of those particular letters. But what are you moving in the first one? We're moving the B. And then in the next one, you are just checking to make sure we're doing this correctly. We're going to move the A. So the letter can be moved from anywhere. Then we're going to move the S. Then we're going to move the C. And then we're going to move the G. So just check that they do make 2 new words. That's the really important thing there. And they're the letters that did actually move. So we had B, A, S, C, and A, G. Let's move on to the next questions. These ones involve you inserting a missing letter. So we need to put a missing letter in, and it has to be the same letter in both pairs. So you need to make sure that it does make 4 words, not just 3 or 2 or even 1 word. So we've got P here for creep, plank, stoop and peach. Scoot, twist, strut and tend. Stub, beat, crab and brain. Then curl, leer, metal and loom. So well done if you got those ones correct. And then we've got 2 more problems to finish off here. So we've got Moseb has to get to the train station in time for the 8:35 a.m. train. Takes him 25 minutes to get himself ready and then 20 minutes to walk to the station. What time does he need to get up in order to get to the station on time? Now, there are different ways of approaching this, but I would certainly look first of all at, we're obviously kind of working backwards. So you're going to take 25 minutes away from 8:35, and that will get you, and it's worth just recording it down quickly, that gets you to 8:10. And then we're going to take 20 minutes away from that, which gets us our answer, which is 7:50 a.m. So again, it's just a case of working backwards, making sure you're dealing with all the information. Some of the information is irrelevant, not that important, but just rule it out once you've used it. 7:50. And then we've got Kath and Simon are baking cakes for the school summer fete. Cakes require 15 minutes of preparation time, then 12 minutes baking time, plus 10 minutes to cool down on the wire rack before they can put them in the box to transport. If they start making the cakes at 11:35 a.m, what time will they be ready to go? Now, I would certainly look at this as trying to put together the numbers that are easy to add up. So I'm going to put 10 and 15 together, which obviously makes 25. And if we add that to 11:35, we get 12 o'clock. Now, we've only got 12 minutes left here. So we add that up, we get 12 minutes past 12. And again, just check back, make sure you haven't missed any information. But the answer was 12:12. Thanks very much for doing your spellings this week. We'd ask you now, please, to focus on Test 5 words, which are the commonly misspelt words, and do look very carefully at those, some tricky double consonants, particularly things like accommodation and assessment. So do look very carefully at those, and we'll test you on those next week. Also, just a reminder about your homework, please do complete week 5's tasks. You need to be doing section 2 test 8, section 2 test 9, section 2 test 10. Of course, there will be a video that will be produced on those as well. But if you get an opportunity to do the you could, that would be amazing. And likewise with your non-verbal reasoning as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you though in one of our live sessions. Thanks very much. Bye.